Can you all hear me? I am live right now for the SLLA 6990. Let me know in the chat that you can hear me okay, and that, let me just turn on my phone and see if everyone can hear me. I don't think we can. Let me know. Hang on one second. Hold up. Unmute. All right. Can everybody hear me? Hold up. Oh, I got it. Okay. Last week we had a problem with the audio. So I wanted to make sure that we had audio, and it looks like we do. Let me know. Okay. Everybody can hear and you can see. Okay, good. Because last week I talked for like 3 minutes before I realized my microphone, something happened. So anyways, I'm so glad you're here. Great. Today we are doing the SLLA 6990 and also the Praxis 5412. This is the leadership exam. And I'm really excited about it because this is my jam. I too was an assistant principal. I went through everything that you can imagine that happened, and went through the interview process, the writing process, all of it. And it was hard. And so I'm here to let you know that I'm going to share everything I know about this process. So let me know in the chat, those of you who are studying for this exam and like maybe it's coming up, like maybe your principal told you, get ready, I'm going to move you into a leadership role, or maybe you're a brand new teacher and you just want to learn this because you understand this is the way you kind of advance your career and moving forward. So I became an assistant principal after 4 years of teaching. So some people do it after 10 or 20. Other people do it after 3 or 4, depending on where you live. And some people just like to learn about this stuff, even as new teachers, so they can, think about career advancement, because there is a big difference between being an assistant principal and being a teacher. All right. So we got 6990, Lizette. Deb is 5412. Let me just tell you really quick about the difference between the 6990 and the 5412. The 6990 has a writing component. So you have to write essays. Now, don't worry. It's actually not as hard as you think. We're going to go over one of them today. I have a bunch of them in here, and I have a whole playlist on how to do this, and we're going to talk about it today. So don't worry. The 5412, those of you who take that test, does not have a writing. It's straight up multiple choice. Now, one thing you need to know is that when you are done with the multiple choice for the 5412, you should get an unofficial score. That unofficial score will usually match the official. So if you got the score that you needed in your state to pass on the unofficial, well, you probably passed. It's rare that they don't match the official score. But if you're taking the 6990, you have to wait because you've got people in there looking at your essays, so they won't give you an unofficial score. I've taken it before and didn't pass by 1 point. Oh, bummer. Well, you know what, Lizette? You're close. I'm going to push you over that threshold today. Don't worry. If you haven't gotten this book already, I highly recommend. We're going to be doing some problems from this book. This one's a bestseller on Amazon. Everybody loves this book. In fact, I was thinking about redoing it, and every time I redo a book, everybody buys the old version anyways. So I haven't redone this book yet. I probably will next year, but it's still super current. I just did this book actually. 6990, currently serving as coordinator of Ed Leadership Program. Awesome, Stacy. That's a great job. Coordinator positions are fun. So yeah, I was a curriculum master teacher downtown, which was sort of a coordinator position. And it was one of my favorite jobs ever. So awesome. I'm glad you're using your degree or using your certifications in a way that's kind of outside the box a bit. Awesome. All right. So with this free webinar, you got a free study guide. All right. And this video you're going to be able to rewatch. It's going to be emailed to you. I have a colleague in the chat. Her name is Yana. She's going to give you an offer code. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever, you will be able to click a link in the description, sign up to get all the stuff the people who are actually in the webinar are getting. If you're watching this in the future, you've already received it, because if you're watching me in the future, you already have all that stuff because it all comes in one thing. Okay. All right. Some people are in their leadership degrees. Lakita, need to pass subtest 2 of Feely. All other subtests are passed. All right. EDD and educational leadership. I too have an EDD in educational leadership from Florida Gulf Coast University. This will definitely help you with the Feely or any leadership exam. This exam, like all leadership exams, is aligned to the leadership standards, the national leadership standards. Those are called the PSELs. Download those and have them available to you. You should read through those because when you do, you will see the good words. I always talk about good words, and I have a good words list in my book. You will see those good words in answer choices, and I'm going to show you what I mean in a minute when we go through the multiple choice. Also, this is the perfect test to work backwards with. Let me know in the chat if you've seen my videos on working backwards. This test looks so complicated with its long scenarios and long answer choices and data sets and all that. I am telling you, you can eliminate bad choices and zero in on good answer choices before you even read the question. And this goes for Feely as well and 5412. Deb is asking, will that offer code work for the 5412? That offer code will work for anything except, and lo siento mucho, that means I'm very sorry. If you get the physical book on Amazon, we can't give discounts on Amazon because they're the publisher. So I have to unpublish the book, change the price, publish the book again. And it's a mess. I can't give offer codes. I'd love it if I could just punch in an offer code and it would just do it for the time period, but it will not let me do that. But on our site, if you buy the online course, you get the digital study guide. You can also just buy the digital study guide on its own. You can also get the audio course. How many of you have gotten the audio course? It's in the online course as well. You get, when you buy the online course, let me just show you really quick in case you guys, because I see you have the offer code there. Let me just share a window really quickly. And I'm just going to go over the products really quickly, then we'll get in. Some of you already have this. Oh, let me hide my bookmarks bar. I'm supposed to do that before. Okay. So this is our website under study guides. Let's go to leadership, SLLA. This book and the 6990 are the same exact book. Don't buy both. They are the same book. They are the same test. The only difference is the SLLA has a writing section. Okay. Everything else is 100% the same. So don't buy both. We do have a little opportunity here for you to get the audio course. People love the audio course. This gives you 15% off, but the offer code in the chat and in the emails you're going to get is 20% off. So all you have to do is just X out of this offer code at checkout and put in the new offer code and you'll get more off. So just remember that. If you add this to cart, let me just go to cart real quick. At checkout, when you check out, over here on the right-hand side, you'll be able to click like X out that offer code and type in the offer code you're getting for this particular, what are we calling this? A webinar. It's a webinar. Now, the online course, let's go. Where's my online? 6990. This online course has everything. It has videos for every single content category. It has practice test questions. It has a full writing tutorial. And it also has the audio course. And you can use all of this as an audio course. So this has everything. And it comes with the digital study guide of the book. And I'm going to show you the digital study guide because it's super big. And I want to make sure you can see it. And I'm going to kind of use it to show you the different sections of the book or different sections of the test. But that is, everything that you need to know about that. Now, remember, SLLA is the same as the 5412, except the SLLA has a writing section and the 6990 has the writing section and the 5412 does not. Is the 6991 very different from the 6990? Tiffany, are you still taking the 6991? That was from like 5 years ago and they've changed the exam. And I believe every state has changed over to the 6990. The answer to your question, Tiffany, is they are very similar. But when the leadership standards changed, and I think this was back in 2020 or was in 2020, the leadership standards changed. And when standards changed, they changed the exam slightly. So let me know, Tiffany, what state you're in and if they're still using the 6991, because they should be using the 6990. but I could be wrong. I'll look it up. Do you have any practice tests for the constructed portion of the 6991? Yes, it's the 6990. Tiffany, let me know what state you're in real quick if you could, and I'm going to quickly check something out. It's the same test. Do not worry. And they said Delaware. Let me look up. Hang on. Praxis scores by state. Please hold. All right, just so you guys know, you can check it. Let me share my screen. You can check to see where you go. All I did was Google Praxis scores by state, and it's find your state requirements. We're going to go to Delaware because that's where Tiffany is. We're going to hit go. Where administration school leader. No, it's, oh, you're taking the superintendent. You're taking the superintendent test. Okay. Is that correct? If you're trying to become an assistant principal or principal, you're going to take the 6990. You're taking the 6991. Sorry. It was the 6911 before, the old one. I actually have an old video of that. The superintendent assessment. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Yes, this is the 6991 for superintendent. Let me go back to stop sharing. Okay, Tiffany, you're doing, okay, here's my advice to those of you who are taking the superintendent. I don't have a book for that yet because there's very few of you that are taking that. And for me to spend a year, because that's how long these take. I mean, not a year, but it takes a long time on a book. I sort of need it to be help a lot of people, right? If you're taking the 6991, take everything in this book and what I'm telling you today and zoom out and use the same exact mindset, but district wide. Okay, for the 6991. So instead of it being school wide, which is what you're going to do for an assistant principal, obviously, you're going to go district wide, but the same things apply. Needs assessment, using data, making sure your teachers are supported, making sure you're using professional development, all of that. However, it's just using district language instead of school language. That's all it is. So you can totally use this. I have studied the 6991 specs and I hope to have a book for that soon. But for now, you can use everything I'm talking about here and just think, instead of me saying building wide, we're going to go district wide. All right. So I am so sorry. I had a brain freeze on the 6991 because the old SLLA 6990 used to be like 6911 or something. And of course, the 6991 is the superintendent test, and many of you are taking it. So just follow me and think broader, zoom out. So when we talk about this, and this is a good lesson for the test as well. So many of you are teachers right now, right? So you're in your classroom and you are thinking, my classroom, my kids, their tests, my classroom instruction, my classroom management, all of that, right? What we want to do as leaders is broaden our scope of perspective, our scope of influence. And we come out of our classroom and our lens gets wider. And now we're seeing the whole school. And this is going to help you on the exam. It's also going to help you with your interview for your leadership. And I have a bunch of videos for the leadership interview because I went through it myself and I helped interview leaders. So like I've been the leader being interviewed and I've been the leader interviewing new leaders. So I share all of that with you. But one of the mistakes I made when taking this exam and also thinking about leadership is I was still in teacher mindset because, not to toot my own horn, I was a really good teacher and my methods were good. So I was so plugged into being a teacher, even though I had all these leadership experiences too. Like I was already working in discipline, learning that whole process. I was already working in curriculum, learning that whole process. I was already conducting professional development to teachers, but my default was teaching because that was like my base. That was my jam, right? So one thing I will tell you to do is when you're answering questions on this test and in your interview, you need to become a building-wide leader, not just a leader in your classroom and not just a leader in your department, building wide. It's a whole different ballgame. And I will say this, if we have any teachers on the line today, I want to make sure that you understand that when you become an AP, you're slammed. Like you think you're slammed as a teacher, not even close. And I hear teachers say, oh, my AP doesn't understand. Your AP is 10 times more slammed than you are. And I know people don't want to believe it because it's kind of an us versus them, teacher versus admin. But when I was a teacher, I had no idea the fires going on all over the school. Like literally kids having epileptic seizures in this room, another kid breaking his arm in the PE, two kids sneaking out and getting in an accident down the road. Cause I was high school. So high school's like insane, right? So you don't understand what is happening. And, like there would be times where I told a teacher I would get into her classroom to view a lesson. And, she prepared this lesson. She really wanted me to see it. And guess what? We had I was high school. So we had like a whole arrest go down. Some kid got arrested, blah, blah, blah. Parents are here. I couldn't make it into her classroom. And she was really upset. And what teachers don't understand is like, your zone is like this as a teacher. You're still working so hard. I am not trying to minimize what you're doing. Love you. I was a teacher. I know. But when you become an AP, and elementary too. Someone saying Brandon, elementary too. Yes. And in the middle and high schools and elementary, you have after school duties, nighttime duties. You've got for high school, football, soccer, baseball, drama, key club, homecoming. You're never done. And it's a great job, but you're never done. So currently an AP here, and the day is a marathon from the moment you walk in. Yep. Angry parents in the in the office, you got kids in the lunchroom. I mean, it's fights going on in the hallways. It's crazy, but it's exciting. But you don't know it until you're actually doing it. You wouldn't believe what is going on day to day after you shut your door as a teacher. So taking it in terms of this test and your interviews, think building-wide administrator. I am a building-wide administrator. And for my 6991 people, now you're past the building. You are multiple buildings, multiple fires, the hundreds of fires in the district now, and departments. And oh my God. Okay. So, and that's called your scope of influence. When you're a teacher, your scope of influence is your students. And it's really big actually, because then those students go out and influence people, and those people influence people. So as a teacher, as a classroom teacher, especially high school, because you have so many students, and middle school, but even elementary, those of you remember an elementary teacher who changed your life, right? Your scope of influence is very impactful. But when you become an AP now, or a principal, an assistant principal or a principal, now your scope of impact is 80 classrooms, 80 teachers, and all of their students, because your policies impact the teachers and that impacts the students. And, so now your scope is bigger. And then when you become a superintendent, well, now your scope is super big. And there's a lot of responsibility with this. Jamie, a dean of students and teacher, I am always on the go. Yes. I was discipline. I was also curriculum a little bit. I did the professional development, or helped with the professional development of teachers. We had an actual APC, and she did the master schedule and all that. And she was really good about showing me how she did it. But I was the AP of discipline, and it was literally it was insane. And we had 4 APs at my school because we had 2,000 students. Some of you are in smaller schools. If you're in Miami, some schools have 4,000 kids. It's crazy. It's a town. It's a city, that you're managing. And then if you're a superintendent, you're managing multiple cities. So really important. Okay. So that is sort of what's happening here. And you're going to apply a lot of that knowledge to this. Just shadowed an elementary, middle school and high school principal, and it was eye-opening. I have a new respect for admin. I needed a nap when I got home. Yeah. A lot of teachers don't get it until they get in there, because you are so busy as a teacher, and you don't want to hear anybody go, "Oh, you're busy? Well, I'm busier." Nobody wants to hear that, but I guarantee you the admin is way busier, and they're getting so much stuff from the district, like a fire hose from the district, new policy, new this, new that. And they're trying to shield their teachers the best they can from unnecessary stuff. All right, let me show you really quickly what you got with this webinar. So we're going to get into the actual questions here. So this is, let's close that. This is the free study guide here. And it's got some questions here that are going to help you. And I have the constructed response for you guys that I'm going to email to you once we're done. So you'll have the question and my response and all that. We're just going to email that out to all participants. So be on the lookout for that email 20 minutes after this is over. And if you are watching this in the future, you already got it. Now, this is the free. Now, the paid is much bigger. And remember, this says 6990. I also have the 5412. It's the same thing. But I just want to go through the different sections of the exam, and it does it well when I look at the book, okay? So this particular test is broken up by the leadership standards. We have strategic leadership, instructional leadership, climate and cultural leadership, ethical leadership, organizational leadership, community engagement, and then this is if you're 6990, not 5412 or 6991, we have analysis, right? So let's have a look here. Strategic leadership is all about the vision, the mission, and the goals. In this case, for your school, if you're 6991 for the district. And how do we come up with the vision, mission, and goals? We do a needs assessment. And what is a needs assessment? Data collection, okay? Everything starts with data collection. You're going to have 4 answer choices on here, and they are all going to look good. That's what people say about this test. All 4 answer choices look good because you would do all 4 things. But typically it'll say what should happen first or what would be most effective. And that is collecting data. Your job as a leader is to look at data. I do it as a leader in my business now. I used to do it in schools and figure out how to make programs better and where we should allocate funds. Now I do it as a business owner. What are our sales? What are we doing? What do people like? What do people sign up? Like this webinar right here has 85 people live on it. It's one of the smaller webinars I do. This webinar typically will have about 600 people sign up. And a lot of people will get the replay later. My other webinars, 2,000, 2,500 people sign up. But I also know from data that more people attend this webinar live. So even though there are smaller signups, more people attend it live. A higher percentage attend it live. So even though it has fewer people, I'm still going to run this webinar, right? I'm not saying to myself, oh, not many people signed up, so is it worth it? Yes, it is, because I disaggregate the data. And I drill down and I see that, there's only 600 people signed up for this webinar and 2,000 signed up for elementary ed, but let's disaggregate. How many leaders do we have? Much fewer leaders than we have elementary ed teachers. Elementary teachers, we've got tons, right? School leaders, we have a smaller pot. And if I look at my webinar analytics, I can see that 84 people attend live. That's a higher percentage than who attends live for the elementary ed. Notice I'm digging down. I'm not just looking at surface data. I'm disaggregating the data. Quick tip, disaggregating data is a good word on this exam. If you see it in an answer choice, it's going to be it. And when we disaggregate the data, we can better, draft mission, vision, and goals. Look at this, shared commitments. Another really good word. You're sharing the job of building the mission and vision because it's not just you as the leader doing everything yourself. You have to get, people behind you, people in committees. And then this word, continuous improvement. 100% of the time. Do we make a policy, set it and go? No, we're constantly going back and looking at that data, progress, monitoring, and continuously improving. If you're part of the 6991 crew, the superintendent crew, you're doing this at district level. You're having district committees. You're continuously improving district. You're disaggregating data by school, right? You may have some surface level data, but when you dig down deeper by region or wherever your kids are, based maybe by different, socioeconomic status, what's happening here, what's happening there, what programs is this school using, what programs is that school using, you'll be able to, have a look and see and make better decisions. Then we have instructional leadership. This is all about increasing student achievement. That is the number one thing. Why are we here? To increase student achievement. Now, what is student achievement? Well, we can have a philosophical conversation about that, but we are trying to close the achievement gap. We want all of our students to be functioning at a high level or being highly proficient, no matter what That's what they say in the standards. Of course, we know students have different issues at home. Maybe they have special needs. Perhaps they're low socioeconomic and don't have the same opportunities our, affluent students have, or maybe they do. Just because somebody's in the low socioeconomic little silo does not mean that they're not reading lots and lots of books. We have to be careful by assigning certain labels, which we need to look at data. We also need to see everybody as an individual. So this is what I'm talking about, like the dance, right? It's important to look at data, to look at subgroups and figure out what our instructional leadership kind of method is going to be. But we also have to remember that everybody is an individual. Teachers are individuals, students are individuals. So balancing that's what good leaders do. We always want to make sure we're implementing rigorous curriculum and instruction and assessment. This is the data collection. This is what we're going to look at. This is what we're going to disaggregate. Okay. Then we have climate and cultural leadership. This one's tough. It's hard to build a awesome climate in the current climate we're in when it comes to schools. It's hard. Teachers, principals are blamed for every societal problem. You guys are the punching bags. Always have been. If you look back to the Red Scare, they used to call teachers communists, professors communists. They've been forever blaming teachers and principals for every single thing. And it's just part of the job. And you just let them say whatever, you know what you're doing, and you're going to keep doing it because you care about kids and you care about teachers. And we're going to do our best to build a climate of, equity, inclusion, cultural responsiveness. All right. This is embracing all children, no matter who they are. We know this. We're educators. Let the noise on the TV go away. You're in your schools. You're in your districts. You know what your kids need, and you're going to make sure everyone feels safe. Everyone feels included, because the only way for students to learn is to feel safe. That's the number one, safety, and also cleanliness. Cleanliness is a good one. A big, dirty school is not going to yield a lot of results. So we want to make sure they feel safe. They feel like, they can learn, and then the learning can commence. If they are worried about getting jumped because there's a lot of violence in the school, if they're worried, if there's no heat, some of you are teaching at schools where the heat goes down, or in my case, the AC. If they are in a school in Florida and there's no AC, they can't learn. So we need to make sure that we're building that culture, protecting our students, making sure they all feel safe, equity, cultural responsiveness. We're constantly thinking about that. We're hiring teachers who look like our students. We're making sure that our students can look at the principal or the assistant principal or the reading coach or the teacher and go, she looks like me. I could do this someday. We want to make it so they want to come to school, and then they want to become teachers and principals. Okay. Ethical leadership. This is going to be all about like some of the stuff you got to do when it comes to teacher misconduct or colleague misconduct. Also, you need to make sure you're operating in an ethical manner. A lot of times people think they're doing the right thing and they're not doing the right thing. So it's very important. One thing I would say under ethical leadership, just a little side note, document everything, every interaction, everything. Just keep a journal every day. Document if you had a discussion with a teacher, if you had a discussion with a student. A lot of times the referral, if you're discussing it with the student, the referral is the documentation. But I just like to have a little journal, because things happen and you're going to want to go back and say, wait, but I had this conversation with her on, January 15th. And we talked about this. And then it became an issue again on March 17th, so you want to have those notes. Document everything, save every email, anything contentious goes in the documentation. Document parents, interaction with parents, everything. That way you're protecting yourself and you have that data. It's data. Everything is data. Everything is data. Okay, then we get into organizational leadership, which is all about the building itself. And if you are a 6991 person, it's going to be the district. This is going to be how are the schools up and running? Do the bathrooms work? Is it safe? What I talked about before. Is it safe? Is it clean? Fire drills, active shooter drills, some of you tornado drills. For us, it's a lot of the organizational leadership is also our high schools become hurricane shelters. And that's when leadership has to come in and basically run a shelter. Also, allowing your school to be used by the community. A lot of churches or other organizations will rent the school out. So that is where the organizational leadership comes in. And this is also fiscal and human resources. This is very, very important. It's a big part of leadership, and it sort of gets overlooked by the instructional leadership part, because instructional leadership is so important because we want kids to perform. But managing the building is like, I learned so much managing a building with my principal. He was like the building manager extraordinaire because he came up the early days. He just knew things. Like we were building a new bathroom. This is a funny story. We were building a new bathroom out at the baseball fields. We had a new baseball field, and I got to sort of be in on the whole new construction of that. It really taught me a lot. And we had these beautiful new bathrooms, and it was so great. And I showed him the plans. I was so excited. I'm like, here are the plans for the bathroom. And he's like, why are there so many water closets in the boys' bathroom? I guess there were like 6 like stalls and only like 3 urinals or something. He's like, I want twice as many urinals and half as many. And I thought, oh, that makes sense, right? Because, right? So we don't need to get into that right now, but in a building admin, that makes sense. And also the toilet paper, he's like, put the toilet paper up high, way up here. And in the chat, you can you can tell me, why did he tell me, especially those of you who have been in high school APs, why did he tell me to move the toilet paper rolls up high? There is a reason for that, right? And he just knew these things because he had been a principal for so long. So that is part of the organizational leadership, like just understanding those types of things. I won't get into it, but you guys can tell me in the chat why you think that was. And then finally, community engagement leadership, getting out into the community, making sure that you are speaking with families, speaking with community leaders, getting out there with business leaders, making sure we're building partnerships with people in the community. And then the last part is the analysis, which we are going to go over. And then if you have the book, I definitely want you to be looking over this good words list. This is going to save you not just on the test, but also in your interview. These words, understanding this is going to help you tremendously. So make sure you have a look at the good words list here. Okay. And then it gets into the practice test. Now, this is the free study guide. We're going to start on here. Any questions, let me know in the chat. Let me go here. There we go. All right. So actually I have to reshare the screen. Sorry about that. There we go. Actually, I mean, I guess I could go through these 3. Is that big enough? Let me go back. I want to do one more share screen. I want to share the entire screen. Sorry. That way it's bigger. Okay, there we go. And let me just move it over here just so I'm not covering it all. All right, here we go. So let me know in the chat if you need anything. We're going to get through this now. The first thing I'm going to tell you is that we need to be working backwards. Now, this is a quick question, so you can read the question first. But I always like to be in the answer choices. Let me change from purple to blue. I've been using purple and red and green to kind of make it pop, but I want to make sure I'm accessible. A lot of people have red-green color blindness, and I don't know if that includes purple. So I'm trying to use blue in all of my presentations to make sure everybody can see what I'm talking about here. So here we go. A, determining and addressing needs or gaps between current conditions and desired conditions or wants. I want you to be on the lookout for words like this on the test, needs and gaps, because that's your job as a leader. You find the needs and you find the achievement gaps and you pour resources into them in the form of money, time, professional development, instructional resources, whatever it is. And you do that by doing a needs assessment. So I really like A. Let's go ahead and look at B. Surveying teachers to determine areas of improvement and where to allocate resources. Okay, I like it. But here's the thing. A needs assessment is a systematic process for a need systematic process 4. Now, surveying teachers is okay, but is a survey really going to tell you the needs of the school or the district? It can certainly be a part of a needs assessment. We would probably survey parents. We may also survey students. We might survey business leaders. It might be a part of the needs assessment, but just surveying teachers is not enough for us to determine where to allocate resources. It's a part. So I'm going to cross that off. I don't like it as much as A. C, using student achievement data to drive decisions made in the classroom. Okay, student achievement data is a good word, but making decisions in the classroom? It's building wide. Keep your building wide administrator thinking cap on. Classroom is teacher, typically. I'm not saying it's always the wrong answer on this exam, but student achievement data, good word, in the classroom kind of limits it. So I'm going to cross off C. And D, analyzing resources and determining allocation based on desired student achievement. Now notice that A, B, C, and D are all really good. We would survey teachers. We would use student achievement data to drive instructions and decisions in the classroom. And we would analyze resources and determine allocation. But analyzing resources is not the same as analyzing data. Sure, you might look at some science resources and go, these microscopes are old. This equipment is old. We should probably, give the science teacher some money to get some new stuff. Okay. Yeah, sure. But when we're talking about a needs assessment, this is a huge data collection overhaul for the most part. Sometimes you can do a mini needs assessment where you're just zeroing in on one thing to figure it out. For example, if you've got some low reading scores this month on your, a quarterly reading scores, and you're like, whoa, what's going on? You might do a quick needs assessment just in reading to figure out what's happening. Is it comprehension? Is it vocab? Blah, 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 school-wide. You might have the reading coach go in and do some data collection. But when we're talking about, school-wide, we are finding the needs or the gaps. Where's the gap in achievement? And it is about your current conditions. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? Those desired outcomes should also be realistic. We don't want to say, well, we want 100% of our kids passing. Well, statistically, I hear people do that. Oh, we want 100%. That's great. You want 100%. It's probably not going to happen. It's like almost impossible to do that. I don't want to say it's impossible, but we want to have, maybe our desired conditions is like 15% higher pass rate or 5% higher pass rate. That's where we want to go. All right. Now what do we need to do to get there? Okay. And that's what a needs assessment is. Sorry, I went into that a little long, but I want to make sure you understand it because needs assessment is all over this test. Number 2, now we've got this big long narrative here. This is where a good test taker, think like a test maker, not a test taker, is going to look right here. Let's go to the answer choices. A, form a committee of experienced teachers to analyze the data and come up with solutions. Okay, I like it. I've got committee, I've got analyzing data, and I've got solutions. Okay, so I'll put a little dot here. B, review the SIP and analyze current goals identified in the plan. Okay, I like that too. C, delegate part of the task to the assistant principal so time can be used efficiently. Delegate, you do want to delegate, but I don't know if I like this one as much as all the other ones. D, disaggregate the data based on subgroups and analyze achievement gaps and areas of weakness. Whoa, this has all the good words. First of all, disaggregate. If you see that in answer choice, probably the correct answer. Also, breaking it up by subgroups, low socioeconomic, who's in special education, English as a second language, students who are typically on grade level, that sort of thing. And listen, people get mad in my comments, and I know you guys are school leaders, so you know, and I always come from a abundance thinking and strengths-based thinking. When we are talking about subgroups, we tend to use things like students who don't perform as well, or the lower 25% of students. These are ways to talk about data, and it is effective because it helps us to categorize data. But make no mistake, these are students. And when I say things like high achieving students versus lower achieving students on this particular assessment or on this particular data collection, I am not talking about them as people. I'm talking about a particular measure and a particular time that we use to sort of figure out what students need, what the school needs. Students are more than their subgroup. But when we're looking at data, we need to make sure that we have a way of organizing it. Otherwise, it's just hodgepodgey. Okay. So just want to make that clear. Now, disaggregating based on subgroups, analyzing achievement gaps. Yes, yes, yes. Love it. D is my answer, but let's read it here. And I really like to continue to work backwards. Read the question stem. What should be the first step? Now, A is the distractor. When I talk about distractors, and this is why I always say, think like a test maker. You guys, I know tests so well. I know them all. ACT, SAT, 6990, 6991, the elementary ed, whether you're in Texas, Florida, Massachusetts, Praxis, Pearson, I don't care what they are. I see all the patterns because I'm in these things all day. This is a distractor. This is to distract you from the correct answer here. Why? Because in the study guide, I said form committees. I told you to make sure you're including the parents and the students and all of that. That's good policy, right? But here's the key. What should the first step be as a leader? Do you form the committee right away? No. You sit down at your desk, you pull up the data, and I've got multiple screens. I got data going, and you're looking at trends, you're looking at gaps, you're looking at needs, you're trying to find outliers, you're trying to see what's going on. You are disaggregating the data yourself, maybe with another team member to hopefully give you some insights. Then you share that data with some teachers who might want to be part of a committee. Then you discuss that data with teachers. But as the leader, you need to dig in and get in there. Start to break it down, disaggregate the data. That's why D is better than A. And that's why a lot of people say, well, I thought all four of these look good. Form a committee? Sure. Review the SIP and the goals? Yeah. Delegate it to the assistant principal so we can use time efficiently. All of those are good practices. But what's the first thing you do? Data. Analyze the data yourself. And now let's read the rest of it. The principal of LES High School is working on increasing the curriculum and instructional focus to include a targeted approach to student subgroups, specifically students who are identified as low socioeconomic and ESE. ESE is another name for special ed. What should be the first step the principal takes? There it is, D. Be careful, all right? Work backwards. That's why working back, if you start up here and you go all the way down, you're going to have to go back and reread this thing because now you got all these big answer choices. Start with the answer choices. Don't be distracted by the distractor. A was good until I read D. D is the best. Then go back, read the stem. You can see it says first. That solidifies my answer here. You know, just thinking like a test maker, not a test taker. Thinking like a leader. Thinking strategically. Chess, 5 moves ahead. Okay. This seems like a hard test. When you find the patterns, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. All right. Now here's another one. They're going to give you all this, maybe even a longer narrative, a bunch of data, and then long answer choices. Read the answer choices first, because 9 times out of 10, you don't even have to look at this data set, especially on leadership exams. Let's have a look. Should the school investigate other reading programs that may maximize student gains for all student subgroups? Okay, I can see here I've got student subgroups, a little bit low scores there. I don't know. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. B, how can the achievement gap in reading performance between the total group and the subgroup be closed? Oh, did I skip number 3? No, I'm skipping around. Sorry, guys. I'm not doing every single one in there. I'll go back. If you want me to do number 3, I'll go back. I'm not doing every single one because it's going to take me over time. But if you want me to go through those, I will. Let's skip to 4. Sorry, I should have told you that. I'm skipping around on your study guide. So just follow along. I'm going to the harder ones to show you. But if you have a specific question, I'll go back to number 3. But let me just do my method here, and then we'll go back to the ones I skipped. All right. So notice B is talking about achievement gap and how we can close the achievement gap. What is the number one thing in instructional leadership? Closing the achievement gap, student achievement. That's why B is the right answer. And I did not have to read a thing. Let's look at C. What factors are most important in promoting improvement in schools' overall performance in reading? How many students are in each subgroup and how does that impact? Okay, yeah, good. All of it's good. But the only one with the best, highest priority, after reviewing this data, the middle school principal should place the highest priority all day, every day, is closing the achievement gap. I don't care what the data says, closing the achievement gap. And you can see we have an achievement gap. We have all students here, 49% passing, only 33 low SES passing. All students, 54% in year 2, low SES 39. We're going up. We need to keep moving up. We're starting to close that gap, but the gap's still there because this is at 54% and this is at 39%. There's a gap. Making gains, 63% of all students, 45% of low SES, 66% and 47%. We are increasing this, but the gap is still there. We want to close the gap. And what do we mean by achievement gap? Let me show you real quick. I'm going to draw a graph, and it's going to be very ugly. It's going to be a bar graph here. Okay. So let's just say, and of course, we're probably always going to have some sort of an achievement gap. Some kids do better than others, right? But let's just say these are your, got 2. This one's a solid bar and the other one's got stripes on it, okay? And let's just say that this is low socioeconomic. And again, that doesn't mean that all low SES kids are not performing in a manner that is high. I have had kids from low socioeconomic who were some of my highest performing students in the school. I'm just saying as a subgroup, okay? Let's just say it's a subgroup, and poverty really does impact the chance students have in school. I mean, come on. We can say all day, oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's 10 times harder when you're poor. Period. End of story. I don't care. I will go to the mat on that. And let's say this is just your general ed, general pop. Okay. And they're performing here. Do you see this gap here between this and this? That's the achievement gap. What do we want to do? We want to keep raising this. We still want these guys to keep going up. We don't want to not help those students get better. We want to keep getting those students better, but we also want to pull these guys up. Maybe programs, maybe more resources, whatever it is. Every school is different. And it could also be your ESOL students or your special education students or whatever the subgroup is. There's all kinds of different subgroups in different schools. And that's the achievement gap. And we want to make sure that we're closing the achievement gap. I remember, everybody was talking about achievement gap. I didn't know what it meant for years and years until I started doing my graduate work. I just would nod and go, oh yeah, totally, the achievement gap. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I remember when I first started teaching, I didn't even know what a standard was. I got the keys to my classroom and a teacher edition and a good luck when I first started teaching. They didn't even train us. They were so low on teachers. So I learned that way, but other people did not like that. Other people did not like that approach to professional development. I didn't care, but yeah, it was crazy. All right, number 8. I'm skipping around a little. Look over the ones you have. I'll go back, but look, answer choices first. I got this big old thing here. No, we're not looking at it. We're going to answer choices. Think like a test maker. Provide differentiated instruction that builds on students' unique strengths and experiences. Okay. If you're a 6991 person, this would be district wide. If you're a 6990, this is going to be school wide. We want to encourage our teachers to have differentiated instruction. B, incorporate project-based learning activities into the curriculum. Okay. Project-based learning is cool. And you might be a project-based learning school. Some schools do all project-based learning. But here's the thing. Differentiated instruction is targeted instruction. That trumps project-based learning because we want to make sure we're meeting all students where they are and focusing on their unique strengths and experiences. Notice A is strengths-based verbiage. When we talk as leaders, we want to be like, we provide differentiated instruction to help students with unique strengths. Because every student brings strengths. They might not do as well on something, but for example, your students who are in ESOL, they're speaking they're learning another language. They're awesome. They're thinking in Spanish. They're trying to read in English. They may have low test scores on like reading comprehension in English, but think about it. They're becoming bilingual. Those are strengths. So even though they may be scoring low on something, they have strengths in other areas. So we want to make sure we maximize that. C, develop individualized performance criteria to drive instruction and assessment for each student. This one sounds good. It's got assessment for each student. Developing individualized performance criteria. Every kid gets its own performance, his or her own performance criteria. So one takes this kind of test, another takes it. We can't do that in education. Things are pretty much standardized. We can differentiate our instruction. We can differentiate our approach. And in the buildings, we can tell teachers, differentiate your products, allow students to write essays or brochures or a web page. We can encourage teachers to give students choice and individualize that. But performance criteria is typically the state test at the end of the year. So I don't like C. B is okay, but A is looking like it's my answer. D, create and implement standards-aligned independent study programs. Okay. Standards-aligned is a good word on this exam. Everything we do has to be aligned to the standards, and the momentum comes from the data analysis, okay? However, independent study programs, are you crazy? My school had 2,000 students. Who are we? There's no way. We can give students choice within the thing, right? So those of you know, as teachers, you might be teaching something. You say, okay, everybody, you get to choose one of the 5 writing prompts here, right? You came up with the writing prompts. They're all standards aligned. They all meet the criteria, but you may let the students choose among those things. We would do the same thing building wide. We might have students choose different clubs they're in, things like that. But each kid cannot get an independent study program. Sorry, not in public school. D is out. A looks like it's my answer. Let's read the question STEM. The leadership team can best support teachers who serve these students by providing teachers with professional development aimed at, okay, this is a professional development question, and we always want to give teachers professional development on differentiated instruction. And if you're a 6991 person, district-wide, you want to offer district-wide professional development in this, or another for 6991 district-wide, you provide your leaders with training on how to provide differentiated instruction to students, right? I'm doing this now as the CEO of my company. I have some colleagues that are under me now who are taking a lot of my tasks, right? Normally, I would be the one to do all this. Normally, as the building leader, you would be the one to provide the professional development, right? As the district leader, you would then train your leaders to then train other leaders to provide the professional development. That's sort of the way it works. And A looks good. Let's just go ahead and read up here. After a needs assessment, the leadership team has decided to focus on certain subgroups. There's that differentiated instruction within the school, especially ELLs and low SES. The needs assessment data show these students tend to perform at substantially lower levels than their peers, both in the classroom and on standardized tests. So classroom assessments and standardized test assessment, this subgroup of students as a whole, generally speaking, perform lower. We want to help them. So we're going to provide professional development and differentiated instruction. Boom. All right, let's go on to this one. Oh, this is the writing. Okay, hang on. Let's go to, let me stop sharing. Let's go to some questions really quick. Aaron, all of the study materials are segmented into 7 content areas. However, the multiple choice section of the 6990 is evenly distributed. No. So if you go, that's a good question. Let me go to, this is actually a really good question because if you're like me, and that's a smart question, Aaron, because you're trying to figure out how many questions come from this area and come from that area. So let me share, there's a part in my book, and this goes for the 5412 as well. I'm showing the 6990 because I can't show 2 books at the same time, but let me just show you this. Okay, so this is the digital study guide, and in it, here is this is called the blueprint. Okay. And in the blueprint, you have your content categories. So yes, there are 7, but as you can see here, the most questions you will get come from instructional leadership. See how there's 27? Because the focus is instructional leadership. So the bulk of the test is going to come from that. The other ones, you'll have 20-ish. I say 20-ish because it could be 21, it could be 22. You might even have some extra questions on your test because they may be field testing items. Don't worry. Just do all the items. They have to field test items on assessments in order to put them on real assessments. Don't try to figure out which ones are field tests and all that. Just do them. But you can see we got strategic leadership. The lowest are organizational and community engagement. Okay. And in my book and I always do this in every study guide. I've been doing this since I started. You can see that in my answer explanations here, I have what content category each question comes from. And I mirror in the book. Notice here, there were 20 questions here. Notice 20 come from section 1. I think it was 27 come from section 2. So we should land at 47 here. 47. And then 48 starts section 3. So do you see how I evenly distribute them, Erin? They're evenly distributed on the test. They may go in order, they may not. It just depends on what form of the test you get. Try not to predict too much. I don't know what questions you're going to get on test day. I shouldn't know what questions you're going to get on test day. It's a secure test. But if you use the methods I'm showing you and you really understand this content, you're going to do very well. A lot of people do well with this. Okay. Tiffany, I absolutely love how real you are. Oh, thank you, Tiffany. Yeah. Well, you have to be real when you're an assistant principal because it's a real hard job. Deb, I'm here laughing because I always taught my students to look at the answers before reading the question because you often will know. Yes, Deb, teach all this to students. Teach it to teachers. One thing I did, I always want to talk to leadership because I had so many hacks in leadership. One thing that I learned as a curriculum master teacher when I was trained by the testing companies that make these exams and the student exams is that the test specification and the blueprint is the most important thing. So when I write my books, I always use the test spec. That's the part of the study companion in Praxis. And if you're taking the Feely, that's the part that has all that information in it with all the different things. All of those words are called good words to me. They will be in the correct answer choices. So if you're a teacher or you are now giving professional development to teachers, I used to do a whole professional development on how to use the test specs of the state test. Every big assessment has a spec. Teach your teachers to go into that spec and analyze all the standards and the sample questions they give to know the structure and all that so that when they are making their teacher tests mirror the state test. And it really goes along with what the students need to know. So it's not a secret. Tests are not a secret. They have to publish these documents that have so much information in them. They're my Bibles. I have them all saved on my computer. Anytime there's a new test in Florida, I'm dissecting the blueprint. And as leaders, we should be too. You should be knowing what your kids are having to do, what your teachers are having to teach too. Cheyenne, I took the test a couple weeks ago, wondering how to better apply the information in the study guide in any situation that may present it on the test. The questions seem much longer than the actual test and the ETS practice test on your practice questions. Okay, Cheyenne, the number one thing is to understand the steps of leadership. One of the things that you should definitely make sure you do, and I'm not saying you didn't do this, you probably did, you need to read everything in the study guide. If you have the online course, watch every video. And the thing is that you have to understand the steps to leadership. The thing about the test is that, like I showed you in there, the answer choices will all be very good. It's hard to distinguish the right answer choices on the test because they all look good. One of the things you can do is make sure that you understand data analysis is always first. This is going to save you on probably 20 questions. Data analysis is always good. It's the first step. Also, bringing in the community to help you implement programs is another one. After you look at the data, not first, okay? So all of that is very important. Now, I mean, I don't know what questions you're going to get on test day, but I do know the structure and I do know the language. The other thing you can do is read the test specification. For the SLLA, it's called the study companion. So you Google, and I used to project it, but it's their proprietary material, so I don't like to project it anymore. But if you Google SLLA 6990 or Praxis 5412 study companion, you'll see the blueprint in the front with the pie chart. Scroll down into the test specifications. They will also have some guiding questions there that are open-ended, that require a lot of critical thinking. Get to know those and really just be thinking about all the different ways that you can answer these questions. Ms. McKinney, I'm not sure how you say your first name. I don't want to kill it. I noticed that this is aligned with the Feely questions. Yes, the Feely and this book and any leadership is aligned to the PSELs. Look, download those as well. PSELs, Professional Standards of Educational Leadership. And those are aligned. Deb says, can you repeat what to Google? Google SLLA 6990 study companion. Here, I'm going to do it. Let's just do it. Let's go here. Window? No. Let's go here. All right. Okay. We are going to do SLLA 6990 study companion. My stuff comes up a lot for the SLLA, so make sure you skip, my stuff comes up a lot because you can see I'm like the first one because I do this test a lot. I would say I'm the expert in this test. So skip over my stuff and go straight here to ETS. You see this educational testing, and even better where it says PDF here. Let me zoom in for you. Do you see this right here? This PDF, that's going to pull up the actual PDF. When we go there, it pulls up the document, and I always like to pull out my things here. Okay, here you have the blueprint, and this is in my book as well. And if you do the 5412, it's the same thing. Here's the blueprint, and then you have all of this. This is all on the exam. This is all fair game. Now, I use this. I turn these into headings. I reword them because it's not my language. I reword them, but I make sure that every single thing is covered in the book. But if you want to dive even deeper, go right ahead. And then there's a part here, discussion questions. Okay. Now, these are open-ended, but they require critical thinking. And so I love these questions. Of course, there are sample questions here as well. You can see, some people think they're longer than they are in my book, but they're the same. They're just different. I don't know what questions you're going to get on test day, and I'm not supposed to know. You're not supposed to know. There are thousands of items in the item banks that they will pull from and put on your test. That's the way standardized assessment works. But you can look there, and then let me just go. Then the other thing I want you to know, and we're going to talk about this in a second, all of this information you learned in the study guide, you should apply it to your writing. Use the good words in your writing. Get some extra points in your writing. If you're missing this test, you may be not doing so great on the writing portion. Stop sharing here. You might be missing out. So all of the good words, needs assessment, disaggregate data, student achievement, closing the achievement gap, all of that should be the stuff you use in the writing when you do the writing section. Okay, let's see here. Do you have an audio version of the SLLA 6990? I have an audio course, not an audio book. To sell an audio book, I have to lock myself in an Audible approved thing, but I have an audio course, which is awesome. It's under, let me just show you where that is. Sorry, I've got like a tickle in my throat. If you go here, if you buy the study guide, if you want the study guide and the online or the audio course, you can go to Leadership 6990 or 5412, either one. And you can see the audio course pops up here. When you add it to your cart, take off this offer code and add the offer code you're getting for here. The one you're getting here is 20%. This one's only 15. Or you can go here. If you just want the audio course, go here and it's right here. Or the 5412, either one. Okay. Those are awesome. People love them. And then, of course, I have the full online course. If you're really struggling, you may want the videos of the online course or check out my YouTube channel if you're trying to save money. All right, let me get on here. Thank you. Thank you, Deb. And Yana gave you the direct link to the audio course. Thank you. Don't forget the offer code. Yep. And remember, turn off any pre-existing offer codes because the 20% is better. Thank you. I have the book, but I thought listening to it while driving beneficial. Yes, Raylene, get the audio course then. It's not word for word. It's more of me like discussing everything in the book. I basically pulled the book up and went through all the concepts and have more of a conversational approach to it. Would you say that your approach strategies work with most Praxis assessments? Yes, Stacy. Now, the backwards method on the Praxis core is a little different because the Praxis core is like an SAT, ACT. But all of the subject area exams, for sure, because they're asking you scenario-based questions. Now, the good words on elementary ed are a little different than the good words on the SLLA, obviously. An elementary ed teacher is doing something different than a leader is doing, but all of that. Okay. Would it be the same for the FEELI? Yes. I have to take the FEELI because I completed the master program in Florida, but I'm currently in the state of Kansas. Told me I have to take the FEELI. Yeah. Instead of the SLLA. Yeah. It's a money grab. They're going to make you take the test in their state. So here's the thing. Yes. The FEELI, I'm in Florida. I took the FEELI a long time ago when I was a assistant principal. This all works for the FEELI too. I've even done like experiments where I've done like full practice tests, never reading the question and only working backwards, and I pass. So I don't want you to do that. I want you to read the question, but working backwards with these methods, I swear works. Do it in practice. Don't do it the first time on test day. Do it in practice and it will help you. All right, Cora, thank you. Okay, so there we go. Does anybody want me to do any from the study guide that I skipped over? Oh, I see. Number 3 may be confusing. All right, let me show you number 3. Let me zoom in. Oops. All right, number 3. Let's pull it up here. Okay, it's good to understand alignment. Now, alignment, vertical alignment is up and down. So vertical alignment is like first grade, prepares people for second grade, prepares people for third grade, fourth grade. Now, a lot of you know, sometimes you get the kids and it's not so vertically aligned. They maybe didn't get what they needed in second grade before they came to your third grade class. But that's ideally what we want. And especially for my 6991 people, vertical alignment within the district is really important and really hard because you have all these different schools and they're trying to do the same thing, but they all have different needs. And, so really tracking that vertical alignment. Horizontal alignment is cross-curricular. So for example, your math people and your science people are talking and they're making sure they're supporting each other. Okay. And so horizontal alignment is awesome if you can do it. It's very hard, but typically you can get some connection with your social studies and English and even arts. They all kind of speak the same language, and your math and science people sort of speak the same language. It's a little harder in high school where everyone just wants to be on their own island, shut their door and don't talk to me. You know how it is if you're in high school, if you're a high school teacher, it's like, no, thank you. We don't work together. Professional development, try to put them in grid. No, they don't like it. But when you're doing professional development, you want to be cognizant of what people want. I never made like my teachers get up and do icebreakers. They hated that. I didn't do it. We got right to the point and I got them out of there, and they love taking professional development from me because I always ended early. Little tip there. If you're going to do professional development, end early. But anyways, let's have a look at this. So I can't work backwards here. This is a good one because I can't work backwards here because it's just one word answers. Not every single one will be able to work backwards, but the scenario ones you can. So let's go ahead. We know what all of these are. Common assessments. This is so powerful if you can get your PLCs to do this. Each department using common assessments, talk about closing the achievement gap. This is so awesome. And then they meet to talk about it. And lesson study is a way they do it in Japan. I was actually trained by this, where teachers work together to build a lesson. And It's like a data collection. It's awesome. Lesson study is awesome. It's a group of teachers who take the time to build a lesson. It's really not about the lesson. It's more about observing the lesson and figuring out how you can become better teachers. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a principal who wants you to take the time and who provides you with substitutes and all that to do it. And right now it ain't happening, especially with all of the budget cuts. So lesson study is great, probably not happening in many schools. Okay, here we go. A principal has blocked off time in teacher schedules so content area teachers in social studies and English can plan interdisciplinary units. By doing this, the principal is giving teachers, this is horizontal alignment. Okay, cross-curricular, interdisciplinary, both are the same thing. Cross-curricular, interdisciplinary means the same thing, horizontal. All right, let's go. Somebody was saying number 7 between, let's go to number 7. Let's work backwards here, okay? A, encourage faculty use PLCs to align curriculum according to state assessments and provide ample time in their planning schedules to design common assessments and data. Like it? I like this. B, devise a plan with the department to use PLCs to plan together, construct common assessments, and engage. Okay, I like it. Choose curriculum aligned to the standards and mandate, bad word, mandate gives off we're not working as a team. I wouldn't choose mandate. C is out. D, have the state send representatives to the school. Another no-no. So look, A and B are good. I'm going to keep those. C and D have bad words. Number 1, mandate, require, typically not the right word. D, sending state representatives or asking the principal or asking outside people to come in is typically not the right answer. Also, teachers hate that. Who wants to see a state representative at the school? Not me. They have no classroom experience, most of them, and they could just stay in the state houses and stay out of the schoolhouses, in my opinion, but whatever, we'll just move on from that. So let's read the question. How can an educational leader ensure the faculty has ample opportunity to be successful in having students achieve on state assessments? So we need to give the faculty what they need. So we have encouraging faculties to use PLCs to align and provide, this is the thing here, ample time in their planning schedules. Because here's what we don't do. We say, oh, here's a new thing, guys. But am I going to give you more money? No. And am I going to take something off your plate? No. Am I going to, it's just like if we're adding something, we need to take something off or we need to provide funding. Devise a plan with the department to use PLCs to plan together, construct comments, and engage. B looks good. Here's the bad thing. Test prep strategies. Now, I will say in real life, you should be teaching your kids how to think like test makers for sure. I could do a whole series on that. In fact, I should have like a secret course that teaches teachers how to think like a test maker without actually teaching to the test, like still having engaging lessons. But on this test prep strategies is a bad word. Ironic, I know. A is going to be the best one here. B, I should have seen that test prep strategies one first. But I was moving too fast. But B, C, and D are bad words. Test prep, mandate, and bringing in outside people. A was good there. All right. Anybody else want me to jump in any other one before I go to the writing? Now, if you're here for the 5412 and you don't have a writing, I would stay anyways because this writing is going to help you with the multiple choice. All right. Let me stop sharing here. All right. That's definitely a difference between elementary and high school. I've worked in both. Yes. High school, they're like, don't talk to me. And elementary, they're like, we're a team for the most part. We still get teams in high school, but you got to be chill. Like if you're doing professional development at a high school, you can't be jumping in and doing crazy stuff. I remember, here's a funny story real quick, and then we'll get into the, I worked for a guy in the curriculum department. He was my boss. And we were planning professional development for like a large group of teachers at the high school in science. He wanted to come out as Captain America and do a whole bit. And I begged him because I was a high school teacher and I had already delivered a lot of professional development in high school for high school teachers. I begged him not to do it. He did not listen to me. He got the outfit, he got the mask, he got the shield, he got the whole thing. This was back in like 2012, maybe 2011, when like, I guess Captain America was a big thing. He thought it was the greatest idea. He also wanted to have the Blue Man Group come on or whatever. I begged, wouldn't listen, did it. Oh my God, he got ripped to shreds by those high school teachers. I mean, it's the same thing with high school students. You can do certain things in elementary, you can't do in high school. Now, the elementary teachers might have liked it, although I suspect they are very, very busy too. They don't want to see Captain America. They want to get their professional development and leave. But he thought it was gonna kill, and it did not. He was cooked big time. Anyway, little thing there. Keep it simple with professional development, especially with the high school teachers. Okay, let's go to my presentation here. All right, so let's go back here. Here we go. All right, so you might get one like this. This one might be a little smaller. You might get even more data. I like it to fit on a page when I'm doing the when I'm doing a webinar. I don't want to have it on multiple pages because it's hard for you to see. But here is the thing I want you guys to do first things first. We are working backwards on these constructed responses as well. We're going right here. All right. I need to know the task before I even start reading this thing, because what most people do is they start here, they go all the way down, then they read the task, then they have to go back up here. Why do that? Start with the purpose. Set the purpose of what you're trying to do here, okay? The first one is conduct a nuanced analysis of the provided mathematics achievement data. All that means is summarize the data very quickly. And that's easy. Discuss ways to implement practices to measure student progress throughout the school year, okay? Well, what are ways right away without even looking at this? I have to look at it to summarize the data. But this part right here, discuss ways to implement practices to measure student progress. How do we measure student progress? I don't need to read that to put that down on my scratch paper to make sure I mention it. Progress monitoring, formative assessments, perhaps providing professional development on how to use formative assessments so our schools and our teachers can track throughout the year. Or common assessments, but we want to make sure we discuss assessment because it's saying implement practices to measure student progress. I don't need to read it to know that. So I'm already got some stuff on my scratch paper I'm going to talk about, okay? 2, formulate a comprehensive strategy for engaging teachers in this process so they are properly trained to use data to make instructional decisions. So number 1, we need buy-in. We also have new teachers versus veteran teachers we might want to think about. Needs to be engaging. We also might want to do some teacher-led. Teacher-led is a good word. The last thing we want to do is go in as assistant principals and be like, I'm delivering the professional development today. Nobody wants to hear you talk. They want to hear their peers talk. Use teachers that are really engaging. I have another quick story about this. I'll keep it short. The woman I talked to you about, who was the curriculum assistant principal, who used to kind of let me sit in on the master schedule and all that, she had a fantastic idea when we were first implementing PLCs. This was back in like 2010. She wanted buy-in from teachers. And I thought, well, I'll give the professional development. I love PLCs. I did a whole master's on it, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, nope, we're going to get the math department to do it. They were all baseball coaches, these math guys. And we brought them in. They had really good scores. We showed them how to do this whole PLC thing using the test specs, all that. They got it. They liked it. I said, okay. Or she said, okay, we're going to use you. You're delivering the professional development. And at first they were like, we don't do that. We're the baseball coaches. We're not delivering professional development. She puffed them up, told them how great they're doing, this and that. They were like, okay, we'll do it. When they stood up to give that professional development on PLCs, the whole school paid attention because here are the baseball coaches from the math department who normally are cracking jokes in the back of the professional development up front, sharing best practices. It was so impactful. It was such a good idea. It was not my idea. It was her idea. And from then on, we always use teachers because they listen to them. They don't want to hear from you. They don't like you. They want to talk to their teachers. So do that, teacher-led. And 3, anticipate potential challenges. These are your barriers. Okay. Right away, Potential barriers, new teachers maybe don't have it. We need to put some things in there. Also, teachers might be burnt out. They might, just not have the time. Do we have the resources? Just be thinking about this stuff. All right. And I would jot that down on your scratch paper. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a few bulleted points. Right away, we're going to talk about assessment. I like formative assessment. I like training teachers in formative assessment. That's what I would use. Formulate a comprehensive strategy. So we're going to do teacher-led professional development. Potential challenges. We've got new teachers versus veteran teachers. We're going to have to differentiate. Now let's read. Continuing to work backwards. Oh, and also this is going to be a 3-paragraph thing because that's going to help me stay structured and stay on track. Okay. So the Extant School Improvement Plan incorporates a new mathematics curriculum, tailored professional development for teachers, and additional resources aimed at struggling students. In your assessment, you discerned that the plan, while research-based, lacks mechanisms for measuring student progress incrementally throughout the year. All right, so it looks like here we've got a plan, but it's missing some things. And of course, we said lacks assessment. We need assessment. Lacks the engagement. Perhaps it's administrative-led, not teacher-led, and potential challenges. Okay, let's just read this up here. As an aspiring school leader, you are assigned the task of evaluating school improvement plan aimed at evaluating student achievement in mathematics. The most recent performance data in mathematics for grades 6 through 8, segmented by various student subgroup, is as follows. All right, so we've got overall meeting in 6th grade, special education, low socio. There's an achievement gap here. All right, 7th grade. And 8th grade. Okay. It's your standard kind of lower performing subgroups, generally speaking, higher performing subgroups. But you can see that 6th grade, I believe, has got a little bit higher. Well, 6th and 8th grade are working it. 7th grade looks a little low, but they're all pretty much on the same thing here. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with paragraph 1. All right. All I'm going to do is summarize this data here. What's happening? Well, overall meeting performance is highest in 6th grade, but it's right around 50%. And special education is only performing at 30-ish%. And low socioeconomic is at 40-ish%, in the 40%. General ed is a little bit above that 50%. And ELLs are in the 35 to 40-ish%. All right. So let's go ahead and just a couple sentences, just regurgitating what you see. And I go right into it. The data set reveals substantial disparities in mathematical proficiency across diverse student subgroups. For instance, here is a very important word. For instance, and for example. On the test, you are going to get points for being specific. Don't talk in generalities. Don't say things like, well, special education was low and general education was high. We need specifics. For instance, special education students manifest a particularly low achievement rate, 28 to 35%. So I took the lowest and went all the way up to the highest, right? Because look, let me show you. Special education, 32 or 28, to 35%. See, the lowest to the high, just did a range there. You don't have to say every single one. You can do a range depending on the grade level. Similarly, English language learners and students from low socioeconomic backgrounds also underperformed. To meet the needs of these students throughout the academic year, we will implement department-wide formative assessments. Didn't I already say that before I even read it? So all this here is a quick 2 to 3 sentence synopsis of the data with a little bit of specifics here. Okay. Then get even more specific. We will implement department-wide formative assessments. And then I like to explain the rationale. This fills up the paragraph, but it also shows the grader of your essay that you have content area knowledge. So this approach uses periodic low-stakes assessment and self-assessments to monitor progress, providing real-time feedback that the teacher can use for instructional adjustment. One more. In addition, math teachers will use their weekly professional learning communities to build common formative assessments and analyze data together. Now, you don't even need this last part. This part here could be cut off and you would still have a really good first paragraph. I'm just giving you extra so you have a lot to work with here. Okay. So then we say building common formative assessments will help the math team build continuity throughout the department and will ensure effective data analysis and decision-making. Data decision-making. Good words. Using the good words from the book, from the online course, from the audio course, and peppering it into my essay because it shows content knowledge. It shows you are a leader. Okay. Second paragraph. What was the second bullet? Let's go back. Formulate a comprehensive strategy for engaging teachers in this process. So this is going to be professional development. Remember, I said we're going to have new teachers, veteran teachers, I should say. All right. The next step is to implement a comprehensive strategy for teacher engagement in the process. Implementation will include professional development in data literacy and effective PLCs where teachers will learn to design common assessment as a team and, good word, disaggregate the formative assessment data these assessments produce in making instructional decisions. I kind of just used a little bit of word salad there with all the good words in it. I definitely know we're going to do professional development, and you could decide which professional development it could be. It could be in differentiated instruction, but since we're implementing formative assessments, why not data literacy and data analysis? Either one would have worked. And now I get a little bit more. This professional development will be teacher-led with 2 respected teachers from the team administering training. Administration will be available to support teachers. This is a good little addition there. To support our new teachers. Novice teachers will be paired with instructional coaches skilled in data-driven instruction. So I anticipated a barrier there. And this one is even more. I'm going to go into it a little bit more here. Anticipating challenges and barriers to this process is essential. And you don't even need this. You could start here. The 2 biggest barriers to this plan are time constraints and lack of experience within the department. Now, I made this up. At your school, you might have a math department with hundreds of years of experience. But in order to write this, sometimes you got to invent scenarios and talk about how you're going to fix it. So let's just pretend that this math department has a lot of inexperienced teachers. To combat time restraints, so we're going to do this, we will use budget reallocations to fund substitute teachers who can relieve regular math faculty weekly, providing them with the needed time for their PLCs. Oh, and what a perfect world that would be. That is not happening in most schools. I wish it were. But you can still put it in your, this is, when we talk about this test, we're talking about best case scenario, all the resources in the world. How would you use it? Well, if I was a principal or a superintendent, I would make sure we had a budget for subs so I can get my teachers the training they need. This also ensures faculty are getting paid for the time they spend on this project. Another part of leadership, paying your teachers. Along with pairing novice teachers with those who are more experienced, which you mentioned in the previous thing, we will implement a scaffolded professional development approach, beginning with basic data literacy and progressing to advanced. Notice how specific this is. I'm talking like the actual plan. This will be differentiated so all teachers' professional development needs are met. This is part of the test, differentiated professional development. It's in the specs. In fact, let me find that. There it is. Let me just pull it up for you. Differentiated professional development understands how to provide differentiated professional development opportunities for faculty and staff. Develops and supports culture of collaborative learning. Develops and supports culture. That means you're giving them the money they need. I just hit that in my essay. You want to be thinking like this the whole time you're taking the test. All right. You want to be thinking the whole time you're answering the questions. Be strategic. Think about those good words. And it's all in my book. I make sure that those items in that study companion are totally beaten. The dead horse is beaten in my book. But I do recommend you get that thing there. But you could see all I did was Control F, differentiate, and it's differentiated professional development. Why? Because teachers all learn differently, just like your students learn differently. Okay? The specs, Tiffany, are what we did when we did the study companion. When I went in and said Google 6990 study companion, we'll link them all up in the email. Yana is in here. Link up the 6991 specs, the 6990 specs, and the 5412 specs. If you're taking a Pearson exam it's on their actual website of the test. It's under test materials and it lists them on the actual page. It's not a PDF. So if you're taking Feely, it looks a little different, but it's the same thing. Just always Google whatever test you're taking or your teachers are taking. Thanks, Rhonda. There it is. Whatever test you're taking, you should always be downloading the specs. Will you have access to the multiple choice while working in the constructed response? No. But you're studying with these good words. Think about these good words. Driving in the car, data driven, all that. All right, let me go back to, we're going to the last, was that the last? Yeah, that was the last one. Sorry. Okay. So what we would do is put this all together. Now, I gave you a lot here. You do not have to write this whole entire thing, but I like to give you a lot. And because I have like some of you are in getting your doctorate in educational leadership. I have a doctorate in educational leadership. I wrote this book. Okay. My job is to understand these tests. Mine's going to look a little different than yours. I also had time to write this, right? You're under the constraints of the clock. It's not going to be perfect, but what you want really quickly, and let me just reiterate this as a kind of a formula. Okay. You want to get right to the point when you're in your paragraph. So I like to break up the paragraphs by bulleted point. You'll notice in the study guide, sometimes I'll even use headings because it is a formal document you're writing. So I might even use a heading and then do the paragraph there. You don't have to, but you can. Don't do a big old intro sentence and going around the world. You don't have time for that. Get right in. The assessment data is this. Boom, 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 right? Then you might answer the next part of it. To monitor progress moving forward, we're going to use formative assessment school-wide, and we're going to provide professional development. And then 2, go into that bullet, be specific. Then what you want to make sure you do is you state the thing that you're trying to do in a general manner. You may define it if you need to, like summarizing data, you don't really need to define it because you're summarizing it. But let's just say, you say, we're going to use formative assessments to monitor progress. You might want to say formative assessments are informal checks that teachers use to drive decisions in the classroom. We want to make sure all of our teachers are trained on this method because it's very powerful. Then you get into specifics. For example, we might use exit slips or thumbs up, thumbs down, or surveys, or whatever it is. You can structure this in all different ways, but just make sure you state the thing, you define the thing when needed, and then you say, for example, for instance. That's going to help you. Are you allowed to have scratch paper during both parts of the test? Yes. It's usually given to you at the beginning of the test. Sometimes it's paper, sometimes it's a dry erase. They try to save money, so they're going to reuse that dry erase. Let me know if you got actual paper. Or if you had to use the dry erase thing, it almost looks like remember the overhead projector, plastic things? That's what it sort of looks like. All right. So any questions? Let me show you now where to get some more free resources and paid resources. So again, here is my website, my SLLA. If you go to our programs and you go under, if you click any leadership programs, you'll see here's all of them together. We have the 6990 study guide. We have the complete online course, which is everything, the digital book, the audio course, and all of the videos. Let me show you. I'm going to show you what the course looks like so you can see what it's like. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. That's the audio course. And if you want the 5412 course, just get the SLLA 6990 course because it's the same. All right, here it is. So you can see here, there's all of this. And in everything, I've got handouts for each thing. Then I have just all of it kind of put here. And then I have a long video on this. Then there's a quiz. Then there's more. Sometimes I have flashcards here, digital flashcards. Then down here, I have the constructed response and a whole thing on the writing task. And then there's an audio course here for you guys. You can just click that and listen to the audio course because that's what I have for you. So with the online course, you have everything. Now, If you don't want that, you just want the study guide, you can get just the study guide. Just the study guide here or the 5412. This is a digital study guide. It's emailed to you. Make sure you use the email with that you're using to pay for this. Okay. And then you can get the audio course, or you can just uncheck that and just get this here. Also, if you want a physical copy, you got to go out to Amazon, and you'll see we have lots of 5-star reviews for this. Lots of people love this book. And please don't buy a used one. It's going to have writing in it. We get emails from people that say, hey, this had writing in it. Well, yeah, because you bought a used book. Don't buy the used book. Buy the new book. And if it's Prime, it's usually done in 2 days, but we cannot give you a discount on Amazon because they said it's their thing. I have to unpublish the book in order to do it, and I can't do that. Okay. Now, if you're looking for free stuff, I have an amazing YouTube channel here, and I have I have SLLA breakdown. And I have a ton of stuff on leadership, and I also have a ton of stuff on playlists on leadership interviews and all of that. Another thing I have, just in case you guys are thinking ahead, in the online courses, I have a school leadership interview course that will help you nail your interview. There are so many mistakes people make in this interview. I tell you how to avoid them. This is really great, especially with that 20% off coupon. But you can also piece together some videos here from my YouTube channel. We have lots of videos here. I'm also on TikTok. I don't do a ton of leadership videos on TikTok, although I should. But I do teach a lot of different things here, and there will be some things in here that would help your teachers as well. So I do lots of stuff here. I love TikTok. It's so fun. Some of the micro learning that I do there, I really, really love. And finally, I am building a whole SAT prep course. I'm moving to SAT, ACT now too. So if you have kids of your own or students who need SAT, ACT, be on the lookout. I will announce it to all of my teacher certification people and admin people here. Don't forget to use the offer code SLLA 6990. I don't know if you are able to jump around, but if you are, do you recommend doing the constructed response questions first? I don't think you can do the constructed response first. So, Lakita, is this version updated from 2023? No, the test has not changed. So this is the same book. So if you bought it in 2023, you have the same stuff. I have your book, and it's helped me tremendously as I prepare for my exam. Thank you. Awesome, Chelsea. I'm so glad you like it. All right. Any questions that I can answer before we log off? I'm so sorry we went long. I kind of went into some funny stories, which made me go a little long. Thank you. Dry erase. Yes. Thank you for don't forget. Yep. I agree, Chelsea. The book and the audio course was very helpful. Awesome, Cheyenne. No, it's the multiple choice first. Yes, Lizette is right. You got to do MC first, multiple choice first, then the writing. Remember, my 6991 people, you're using this information. You're just putting on your district lens, your district glasses, where you see the whole district. Okay. And if you are a school leader, it's building wide. You are not a teacher. You are an administrator. Make sure you remember that. I talk about that a lot in the interview, because in the interview, we tend to go back on our teaching because it's what we're comfortable with. And on the interview, you want to be a building leader. Leadership. Okay. What is the name of the interview book again? It's a course, actually. It's just a course. And there's a handout. It's called let me show you where to get it. We'll link it up in the email as well for you, so don't worry. But it's right here. It's under online courses, and it's the fourth one, School Leadership Interview Course. But we'll also link that up in the email you get after this is over. It's going to go out in just a few minutes, okay? All right, everyone. Is there a book you have for the interview process as well, or is it only available? It's an online course. I didn't write a book for that. I prefer the questions first. I jot down those good words. Yes, Lizette. Awesome. I think we can all work together and set up a schedule for her. Looks like you guys are talking together. Awesome. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you go. It's Saturday. Go do something fun. I missed portions of this webinar. Will it be available? Vernon, wait. You're going to get an email with the replay. You can watch it on demand as many times as you want until you're sick of listening to the sound of my voice. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being school leaders. It's a tough job. you're about to get your butt kicked, but it is so exciting and fun. If you need anything, hit us up at info@kathleenjasper.com. I'm always taking ideas for new videos. If you want me to do a short video on something, put it in there. You guys are awesome. Thank you for spending your Saturday with me. And